against Brooklyn because Kevin Bleepin Durant was just Bleepin Durant. That's all he was just Bleepin Durant.
Yeah, he wasn't.
This man managed in 2 games right before our very eyes to combine to go 13 of 41. 13 of 41 from the floor. That's 31.7% for the quote-unquote best player on the planet. Meanwhile, in 2 games, he totaled 12 turnovers. That's Westbrookian. In the second half of the 2 games, he's 7 of 24, which is 29.2%. And he's 1 of 5 from 3 in the combined second halves. And he's a minus 30 in plus minus in those 2 second halves. 2 games begging to be won by the visiting team. Begging, like on a silver platter for the visiting team. I don't want to hear about the Nets defense because I got to tell you, it was pretty good last night. By their standards, it was pretty great. In the first half, it was truly great. Right. In the second half, it was still good enough to win the basketball game. They were up 17 late in the second quarter. They gave up a run. It may have hurt them, but they were still up 10 and a half. And if you told me before the game the Nets are going to be up 10 and a half, I'd say, thank you, God, I'll take it and run with it.
Right.
If you had told me before the game that the Brooklyn Nets would be up 5 after 3 quarters, I would take it and run to the bleeping bank with it. Okay. Because that's the kind of lead that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the most dynamic duo in the history of basketball, should easily run and hide with.
Yeah, but Skip, you've seen this all year. Those are the type of leads that they've blown. You've seen that.
I haven't because they haven't played together all that
But I'm
much.
saying since Kyrie's been back with the mandate, you go back and look at their last 20 games and see how many big leads they had and they collapsed in the end.
So just to display my up-to-the-second objectivity about Kevin Bleepin Durant, I'm going to read a string of tweets that I typed last night on the fly in real time. I'm going to read them right now just to show my objectivity, and they started in the middle of the third quarter. And the first one was, this is all caps because I saw it coming, middle of third quarter. Kevin Durant has turned into a nightmare, completely overwhelmed and overmatched by a Celtics defense that's turning him into a turnover machine. Pull your head out, man. Well, he didn't. His head just went deeper and deeper, you know where. Second tweet. Kevin Durant is just getting bullied, all caps, and he has, all caps, folded, because he did. Yeah. No Moss. You remember that fight?
Yeah, yes, I do. Roberto and Sugar Ray.
Make that, and these are capitalized words, make that the softest player on the planet so disappointing. Next tweet. This is probably early fourth quarter. KD, Boston MVP. He was Boston's MVP of that game. Next tweet. KD and Kyrie are on their way to joining Lagon in Cancun. Bingo. Game over. Thank you very much. Drive safely. Next tweet. Tonight he was Kevin Can't Durant, because that's what he was. He was Can't Durant. And then the final one was, this was for you. I just lost 3 cases of Diet Dew to LaShannon Sharp thanks to Can't Do, D-E-W, Can't Do Rant, because he can't even do my do. He undid my own do. Yeah. He lost me 3 cases that were sitting in the middle of the table for me to gulp. They were big gulps, right in the middle of the table saying, here, drink me, drink me, drink me. And Can't D-E-W Rant, Can't Do Rant, couldn't even do that. I am dumbfounded. I am gobsmacked. I would have bet 100 cases against that happening last night in that situation to that guy. But he shrank, and I'm not finished yet because I got more here. Okay. He was rendered last night, Kevin Bleepin Durant, he was rendered slow and clumsy looking. That's what he looked like to me. He looked like a guy who couldn't dribble because he's so tall. It's like he's too tall for his dribble. And he tries to dribble, through 3 Celtics, and the ball's dribbling so high that it's just being knocked out of his hands like he's in 8th grade. That's what it looked like an 8th grader out there trying to play with professionals. He looked weak and shaky passing the basketball as well as shooting the basketball, which shocked me because he's highly capable of a 10-assist game, and he's just like, he's intimidated.
But would you agree that he's not a natural passer of the ball?
No, he's
like a LeBron,
okay, he's not LeBron, but he's a very good passer.
Yeah, he's a good passer, but not a natural passer.
The point was, Kevin Durant went in the tank. They destroyed his confidence in the middle of the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, and I never say this, I don't know if I've ever said this on this show, they took his heart. They just snatched it right out of his carcass. What? They took his heart away.
Best player on the planet
because he had nothing left. There was no more backbone left. He was a jellyfish in the fourth quarter. I've never seen anything like it. He shot shots like he knew they were going to miss. That's what he looked like. Every time he went up, it's like his hands are shaking. Yeah. It was like LeBron at the late game free throw line, like his hands are shaking.
You don't need to mention LeBron. LeBron
he's on.
Yeah, okay, so why are you bringing him up? This is about Kevin Durant and how he fell in epic proportions last night.
And I'll throw this in. Kyrie wasn't much better, but the better player is obviously Kevin Durant.
Yes.
So the bulk of the blame is laid at his feet.
Right.
He's 7 feet tall. He's a 7-foot monster. His shot, you would think, was unblockable unless he goes up so tentatively, so softly that Jason Tatum blocked it a couple of times last night, but one in the fourth quarter that just knocked me over. And I give it up to Jason Tatum. He played some hellacious defense. It was all about his heart. He had big heart. Kevin Durant had no heart. Jason Tatum was all over him, and to your point, it's cornerback mentality because he knows he's got help.
Yeah.
But still, Jason Tatum mirrored every move that KD made with the basketball. And Ime Udoka, as you know, sat on that bench last year. He's watched Kevin up close and personal for years and years and years. The Olympics, the whole thing.
From San Antonio.
He knows him cold.
Absolutely.
He's been beaten by him, and he has beaten him.
Yes.
He beat him in his house one night when Ginobili made a shot of shots to get the Spurs back to the finals that they won in 2014.
Right.
By a record finals margin against LeBron and company. But it took them at least keeping Kevin to a low roar in that game and Westbrook to a low roar for them to steal that game in the end because Ginobili made a big three. But they know how. Ime knows how that you have to get up into him, you get physical with him, and you play football, basketball with him, and the refs pretty much let him get away with it, except he did go to the free throw line 20 times.
Yeah.
And, of course, he made 18. But you know when he really went in the tank, when I knew he was just psychologically cooked, was when midway through let me get the time exactly. It's 4:17 left in the third quarter. Could we see what he did? This is Kevin Durant going to the free throw line when he was completely overwhelmed and just overwrought and way short on the first one, and then he tries to overcompensate on the second one, and you know what happened. He goes back iron. You just don't see that. You don't see that man miss two. When he missed two, I said, he's gone. He's over and he is out because they have snatched his heart and his psyche and what's left of his confidence. He was absolutely done. I didn't think it was possible to do that to that man on any stage, under any circumstance, because nobody has ever done that to him. Nobody. It's never been close to that.
Well, here's the thing, Skip. The reason why nobody is hard for them to do is because nobody's had this level of athlete. When you look at Jaylen Brown, you look at Jason Tatum, you look at Marcus Smart, you look at Al Horford, you look at Daniel Tice, guys that have length. Now, although Marcus Smart is not as tall as the aforementioned guys, he's a body. He's a big, strong, muscular guy that will play physical basketball. There's a reason why he was Defensive Player of the Year. Now, you might think Mikal Bridges or Rudy Gobert, but he won the award. So, obviously, a lot of people thought that he was playing very good defense all year long. He can get up under him. He plays up under him. But he knows, like you said, I got help behind me. Al Horford is coming from somewhere. JT, JB, they're coming from somewhere. Tice is coming from somewhere. Just imagine if they had Robert Williams, who's the better defender than all of them other than Smart. He might be the best defender. And he's not even there.
Yep.
So they have enough bodies. Skipping, if you watch when Kevin Durant shoot, more times than not, there's somebody on the side that's jumping. There's somebody that's in front of him that's jumping. He's never seen that before. I just want you to, Because you focus on the basket, but you can see these guys out of your peripheral.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job of that. But I like what you're saying. You're talking about, I'm going to be totally objective. You got no choice. You're the guy that they caught in the bank vault at 3 a.m. and he tells the cops, yeah, I was stealing money. You got no choice. We got you dead to right. You got no choice but to say Kevin Durant laid the egg because everybody saw it. 4 of 17, another 6 turnovers, minus 19 in the second half. What other choice do you have but to be objective?
That was the question I kept asking you all year very long about LeGon and company.
This ain't about LeBron.
Yes, it is.
No,
you always change the subject.
No,
if I'm talking about Tom Brady, then you have to bring up Kevin Durant.
No, I'm not talking about KD.
Yeah.
All I'm talking about is your guy had a 17-point lead.
All I know is that your guy had at least 17 times this year that he could have closed games and won them, and he failed at least 17 times this year.
Yeah.
That's all I know. And not once would you own up, fess up, confess.
I absolutely did.
You were caught in spotlights at 3 a.m. in the vault with a whole hands full of gold bricks. You had gold bricks in your hand, and you're saying, who, me? No, it wasn't me.
Go back and look it up. How many 17-point leads or more that Kevin Durant has blown in the playoffs?
Yep.
It's more than you think. That's not the first one. That's not.
All I know is this team, the Nets, last night scored an average of 30 points a quarter for the first 3. And to your point, Bruce Brown got off to just a sensational start.
Yes.
Then Dragic came in and went pretty crazy for a while, and Patty